The Little Toy Engine and Other Stories by Enid, Blyton. Chapter 1. Corovell, the Children's Dustman. Once upon a time, long, long ago, the world became so full of exciting happenings that the children could not go to sleep at night. Mothers and fathers began to get worried. The fairies too were anxious, for when a child did not sleep, he became cross and tired, and of course could not see any fairies. And the fairies did not like that at all, for they loved playing with the children. So the king of the fairies called a great meeting, to which all the fairies, big and little, came. "I will offer a reward," said the king, "to any fairy who can find something to make all the children go to sleep at the proper time." All the fairies were very excited, and they began to make plans at once. "I know what I shall do," said one. "I shall string some baby stars together and hold them in front of the children's eyes. They will be so dazzled with starshine that they will fall asleep at once." "I don't think much of that idea," said another fairy. "I'm going to hunt up the magic words in an old book and make them into a sleep song. Then I shall sing it and all the children will go to sleep listening." Each fairy had a different idea, and each began to try to do what he had planned. The necklace of baby stars was no use, for the brightness made the children more awake than ever. The magic sleep song did send some of them to sleep, but it kept others awake. Another fairy tried stroking the children's hair very softly, but while it brought sleep to some, it fidgeted others. Others danced softly around the candle in the children's bedroom, but they were so interested in watching the fairies that they were wider awake than ever. The fairies began to feel there was really nothing to be done, and one by one they gave up trying. Great gloom settled over fairyland, for the tired children were much too cross ever to play with the fairies in the daytime. Now all this time there was one little fairy called Corovell, who was very busy indeed. All one day he was scraping the bloom of the darkest red roses he could find in fairyland and shaking it down into a yellow sack he was carrying. On another day he went to all the blue butterflies he knew and begged them each to give him a little powder from one of their wings. Because they liked little Corovell, they shook some of their powder into his outstretched hands and flew off into the sunshine. Corovell carefully mixed it with the rose bloom in his sack. The next morning he scraped the sunshine from the top of all the little puddles shining in the sun. This he mixed carefully with some black powder from the middle of bright red poppies. He took the softest and brightest green moss growing on the palace wall and powdered it into tiny, tiny pieces. Then he mixed into it the magic scent of the June wild roses and shook it all up together with the other powders and dust. As he was carrying the sack along through the wood that night, he picked out a star shining in a puddle and put it into his sack, just for luck. To finish off, he stirred it all up well with the brightest green feather from a kingfisher's breast. When Corovell was satisfied with his mixture, he took his yellow sack on his shoulders and went to the king's palace. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing low, "I have discovered something which will make any child sleepy." "Prove it," said the king eagerly. Corovell flew to a nursery full of naughty, tired children. "Now watch," he said softly. He dipped his hand into his sack and pulling out a handful of glittering dust, he flung some of it into each child's eyes. The baby child fell asleep at once. The next smallest crept over to her mother and laying her head down went to sleep. All the other children stopped quarreling and began to rub their eyes, saying, "Oh, I'm so sleepy." "Well done," said the king. "It is a wonderful discovery. What is your sleep dust made of?" Corovell told him, and he said, "It not only makes the children go to sleep, but it makes them dream of roses and butterflies and poppies and starshine, all the beautiful things in the world." "Splendid," cried the king. "The children will soon be happy in the daytime now, so that we can play with them again. What will you have for your reward?" "Make me the children's dustman," asked the little fairy, kneeling down before the king. "Grant that I may be their special nighttime friend, and that they may all know and love me." "Very well, that shall be your reward," answered the king. "You shall be the children's dustman and make the children sleepy at night time, so that the next day they will not be too tired to see us when we come to play with them." And every night since then, as quick as the gleam on a dragonfly's wing, along comes the dustman with his yellow sack of magic sleep dust. He flings some of it into every child's eyes, and they grow sleepier and sleepier, and at last fall softly asleep to dream of flowers and birds, butterflies and starshine, until daytime peeps in through the window.